$85,000. That's how much the United States national debt just grew in the last second. $307 million every hour, $7.39 billion every single day, $38.91 trillion. That is the current US national debt, and it is growing right now as you watch this. And yet, nothing has collapsed. The dollar is still the world's reserve currency. Americans are still swiping their cards, markets are still open, the government is still writing checks. So either every economist screaming crisis for the last 20 years is completely wrong, or there are forces at work that most people have never been told about. Today, we're going to show you exactly what those forces are, the four invisible shields protecting America, and then we're going to tell you the honest truth when those shields start to crack and what that means for your money. First, let's make this make sense, because the raw number is so big, it's basically meaningless to most people. Think of it this way. If you earned $60,000 a year and had $240,000 in debt, that's a 4-to-1 debt-to-income ratio. Painful, but survivable for millions of Americans every day with a mortgage. The US government currently brings in roughly $4.9 trillion in revenue per year. Its debt is about $39 trillion. That's roughly an 8-to-1 ratio. Now it's starting to sound scarier. But here's what the headline never tells you. Debt alone doesn't cause collapse. What causes collapse is the inability to service that debt, to make the payments, and the loss of trust that you ever will. And this is where America is genuinely different from almost every other country that has faced a debt crisis, because the US has not one, not two, but four structural shields that have kept the system from imploding. Let's break them down. The dollar is the world's reserve currency. Right now, roughly 58% of all global foreign exchange reserves are held in US dollars. Oil is priced in dollars. International trade from a Brazilian company buying Malaysian steel is settled in dollars. This creates what economists call exorbitant privilege. When the rest of the world needs dollars to do business, they buy US Treasury bonds. They literally fund our debt willingly, because they need our currency to function. It's like being the only casino in town. You can run up a tab that nobody else could get away with. The Fed can print money. Unlike you, the US government cannot technically go bankrupt because it controls the Federal Reserve, which can create dollars. In the worst case, it can print money to pay its bills. Now, this is not free. Printing money causes inflation. We felt that in 2021 and 2022 when inflation hit 9.1%, the highest in 40 years. That was partly the cost of pandemic-era money printing. But here's the critical point. The US has never defaulted on its debt in modern history. That track record is a massive source of trust, and trust is what keeps this whole system alive. US Treasuries are the world's safest asset. When anything scary happens in the world, a war, a banking crisis, a pandemic, what does every investor on the planet run to? US Treasury bonds. Not German bonds, not Japanese yen. US Treasuries. This is called the flight to safety. It means that even when America looks most stressed, global demand for its debt actually goes up. Investors would rather earn 4.5% guaranteed from the US than risk anything else. Greece couldn't do this. Argentina couldn't do this. America can, because 80 years of geopolitical and economic dominance has made US debt the global standard for safe. The US economy is enormous and innovative. The US GDP is $27.4 trillion. It's the largest economy on earth. It produces Apple, Google, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, companies that individually are worth more than most countries' entire economies. What matters in debt sustainability is not just how much you owe, it's how fast your economy grows relative to that debt. If your economy grows at 3% and your debt grows at 4%, you've got a problem. But if innovation keeps pushing growth, the math becomes more manageable. The US has consistently been a technology and productivity leader, and that engine of growth is the ultimate backstop for the debt. Here's where I have to be honest with you, because this channel doesn't do panic or denial. We do truth. These shields are real, but they are not infinite. The first crack, interest payments. The US is now paying over $1 trillion per year just in interest on its debt. That's more than the entire defense budget. When interest eats that much of revenue, it crowds out everything else: education, infrastructure, healthcare. The second crack, de-dollarization. China, Russia, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia are actively building payment systems that bypass the dollar. It's slow, but it's real. Every percentage point the dollar loses as a reserve currency weakens shield number one. The third crack, political disfunds. In 2023, the US came within days of a debt ceiling breach. Every time that happens, a little more trust erodes. Markets notice we're not at collapse, but the margin for error is shrinking. Alright, enough macroeconomics. Let's make this real, because this isn't just a government problem. It is leaking into your financial life right now. Here's how. Impact 1. Higher interest rates. When the government borrows $39 trillion, it competes with you for capital. More borrowing means upward pressure on interest rates. That 7% mortgage, the $25,000 car loan, the 24% credit card, those rates stay high partly because Uncle Sam is also borrowing heavily. The Fed doesn't set your mortgage rate in a vacuum. It's fighting inflation caused partly by government oversight. Impact 2. Slow burn inflation is the hidden tax. Here's something nobody says clearly enough. Inflation is how governments quietly pay down debt. If you borrow $1 trillion and then inflate the currency, you pay it back with dollars that are worth less. The debt shrinks in real terms. For you, that means the purchasing power of every dollar you save is being quietly eroded. A savings account earning 4.5% sounds great, until inflation is running at 3.5%. Your real return is just 1%. And if inflation reaccelerates, which some economists predict if debt keeps growing, that 1% could go negative. Impact 3. Risk to social safety nets. Social Security and Medicare face their own funding cliffs within the next 10 to 15 years, completely separate from the national debt. When you add both pressures together, the next generation of retirees cannot count on the same benefits their parents received. If you're under 45, your retirement plan cannot assume the same government safety net. So, what do you actually do about this? Here's a concrete, practical playbook. Not for predicting collapse, but for making your finances resilient regardless of what happens at the macro level. Step 1. Inflation-proof a portion of your savings. Put a portion of your emergency fund in I-bonds or TIPS, Treasury inflation-protected securities. These are literally government bonds designed to keep pace with inflation. Right now, I-bonds are paying competitive rates. It's not exciting, but it's a hedge. Step 2. Own assets, not just cash. Cash loses to inflation. Assets, index funds, real estate, equities, historically keep pace or outpace it. If the dollar weakens over time, the companies inside your S&P 500 index fund will reprice in whatever currency exists. Own productive assets. Don't sit entirely in cash. Step 3. Eliminate high-interest personal debt. First, the national debt can be fixed by you. Your credit card debt can. In a high-rate environment driven partly by government borrowing, A 22% credit card balance is destroying your wealth faster than almost any investment can build it. Attack it aggressively. Step 4. Diversify internationally. Even a little. If de-dollarization is a slow-moving risk, a small international allocation in your portfolio is cheap insurance. International index funds give you exposure to economies that may benefit if the dollar weakens. We're talking 10 to 20% of your equity portfolio, not abandoning America, just hedging. Step 5. Increase your earnings power. The best inflation hedge is a skill set that commands higher income. In an era of fiscal stress, the government will raise taxes and cut benefits before it defaults. The person who earns more keeps more. Invest in your career, your skills, your business. That is the single most powerful financial tool in an inflationary, high-debt environment. So, is America about to collapse under $39 trillion in debt? Probably not tomorrow. Probably not next year. But the system is under more strain than at any point in modern history. The four shields are real and they are eroding. Slowly but measurably. The smart move isn't panic. And it isn't denial. It's preparation. Build a financial life that works whether the dollar stays strong or weakens. Whether rates stay high or fall, whether social security is intact or reduced. That's what resilient personal finance looks like, and that's what we're going to keep building together on this channel. If this video made you think differently about your money, share it with one person who needs to hear it.